Her greed drives her to manipulate her husband into dating her rich client. You won't believe what happened next. Well, let's find out together. Welcome, my friends, to another exciting movie journey with us. Get ready as we bring you the full gist about this popular Nigerian movie packed with morals and hidden lessons. But before we continue, make sure to subscribe because we have plenty of interesting movie goodies coming your way. So, grab your popcorn as I take you through this unforgettable experience. The story begins in the bustling city of Lagos, where we meet a young and beautiful lady named Molly. She's an event planner, and we see her in her office with a couple who came to plan their wedding, which was just 3 days away. During the process, the couple got into a heated argument and ended up insulting Molly. The insults were too much for her to ignore, so she responded. While they were arguing, a pretty lady named Nathalia, Molly's colleague, came in, distracted by the noise, and asked what was going on. Molly explained and called the couple crazy illiterates, which angered the woman. She even removed her shoe and tried to fight Molly, but her husband held her back. Later, Molly and Nathalia were chatting. Molly complained that she would never plan a ghetto wedding again. Nathalia tried to explain that ODOGWU, the groom, was very rich, but Molly had made up her mind. She was upset because the woman tried to pull off her wig, which was very special to her. Nathalia jokingly called the wig a sponge and flipped her own wig until Molly noticed. They laughed and continued chatting, with Nathalia suggesting that Molly's husband wasn't treating her well. When Molly got home, she found her husband, Eric, sleeping on the couch. She woke him up and scolded him for not picking her up from work. That night, Eric tried to get close to her in the bedroom, but Molly rejected him and went to sleep in the living room. The next morning, Eric surprised Molly with breakfast in bed and offered to take her to work. They had a brief chat. Later that day, while Eric was fixing the car, Molly sat inside, yelling at him to hurry. They started arguing again until the car broke down. A few minutes later, Molly got to the office. Nathalia tried to record a video, but Molly was too busy asking her for help with the design. Nathalia asked if Molly noticed anything new about her. At first, Molly didn't, which annoyed Nathalia. Eventually, Molly noticed her new iPhone 15 Pro Max and got excited, but Nathalia refused to show it to her and went outside to finish her video. Then, Eric called and asked Molly to help pay the cab driver. This made her paranoid and frustrated. Nathalia returned and asked if that was her husband, and they chatted again. Later that day, Eric cleaned the house before Molly got home. But just as he was about to eat, Molly came in and snatched the food from him. She insulted him for not being able to provide food yet trying to eat. They got into a heated argument, and Molly stormed off with the food, still complaining. The next day at Molly's office, while she was scrolling through her phone, a young and handsome man named Owen walked in. He was an old-school friend, and she was surprised to see him after so long. They teased each other briefly before getting into business. He asked her to help plan his wedding. Surprised, Molly asked who the lucky girl was. Then a beautiful lady named Hilda entered. Molly excitedly exchanged greetings with her. After their discussion, Hilda said something to Molly before leaving. Owen then asked Molly to join him for lunch and left with Hilda. Back in the office, Molly chatted with Nathalia about what just happened. Suddenly, she received a call, stood up, and left without giving any explanation, leaving Nathalia surprised. Moments later, Molly was in the car with Owen. They chatted, and Molly was surprised to learn that Owen was just a manager at Hilda's boutique. They talked business, and Owen asked her to bill Hilda 500 million naira for the wedding planning. Afterward, he dropped her off. Now tell us, what would you do if you were in Molly's shoes, working hard, stressed out, and feeling unsupported at home? Would you keep pushing or walk away? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments. The next morning, Molly was in the living room going through her decoration files when Eric joined her. She asked him a few questions about whether he was seeing any other woman apart from her. Eric explained to her that he wasn't cheating, but Molly still got angry at him. The following day, Molly and Owen arrived at Hilda's house. Hilda and Owen welcomed each other. Then Hilda threw a file at Molly, giving her instructions on what to do, expressing her love for designer wear. She then told Owen to come and massage her back because it was hurting. They both went into the room, leaving Molly alone. Molly walked around the house admiring it, then saw a file. She quickly went through it and opened her bag, found a book, took some pictures of its content, and hurriedly returned to her seat. Later that afternoon, Eric had already prepared lunch and was waiting for Molly. When she arrived, she was excited that Eric had made lunch for her, until he explained he got the money from his driving business. Immediately, she stood up, refused to eat, and angrily walked away. That night, Molly was lying on the bed. Suddenly, she stood up and went straight to meet Eric in the living room. She kept complaining, saying she couldn't stoop so low to be a driver's wife. She then handed him a file to study, giving him instructions on what to do. But Eric refused. Molly warned him and gave him 3 days to decide, or there would be no peace. She then walked away. The next morning, Molly rushed to work and apologized to her friend for being late. Her friend told her to calm down and showed her a picture of Owen and Hilda. Molly was excited for them, but her friend reminded her they couldn't afford to lose this client because the couple was becoming celebrities. They both chatted. That same day, Hilda came out screaming Owen's name. When he appeared from the kitchen, she asked what he was doing. He said he was making something special for her, but Hilda didn't like that. She felt he was always doing things and never had time to go to the store. After a heated exchange, she left. Meanwhile, Molly got home and couldn't find Eric. She went to his workplace and embarrassed him in public, forcing him to leave with her. Back at home, Molly begged him to do what she wanted, but Eric disagreed. She then threatened to divorce him if he didn't obey. The next day, Molly was in the living room when Eric came in, agreeing to do what she wanted. Molly got extremely excited, began planning her outfit, and went to the kitchen to fix him something to eat. 2 days later, Hilda was seen chatting with Eric about his designer suit. Molly was nearby, waiting for Hilda. Hilda gave Eric her card to call her, and they walked away. That same day, Molly came home excited and handed Eric a food package. Eric was surprised she got him food and praised him for a job well done. Later that night, Eric and Hilda chatted on the phone and decided to meet the next day at a restaurant. Molly was with him while he was on the call. Afterward, she was excited to be with Eric. The next afternoon, Hilda was at an expensive restaurant, checking her wristwatch while waiting for Eric. Not long after, Eric arrived, and they exchanged pleasantries. Eric called the waiter and ordered food. To Hilda's surprise, he ordered her favorite, which made her more interested in him. They chatted and got to know each other while they ate. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened at the restaurant. At the same time, Molly was at her office, pacing around and looking worried. Back at the restaurant, Hilda insisted on paying the bill. While the waiter was clearing the table, she accidentally spilled a drink on Eric's suit. She apologized immediately, but Eric said it was fine. However, Hilda took it personally and caused a scene, insulting the waiter for being clumsy. Even though Eric tried to calm her down, she continued shouting, making Eric angry. He stood up and walked out. Hilda followed him, apologized again, and offered to buy him a new suit. Eric told her not to worry, but she insisted and took him to her designer store. They drove off together. Eric returned home carrying some packages, looking excited. Molly was also happy, until Eric started praising her. Then she suddenly found fault in his words. Eric told her he'd be going out again. At first, Molly wasn't comfortable with that, but later agreed. They chatted afterward. The next morning, Molly's phone rang. It was her friend waking her up because she was already late. She quickly got up and went to the living room, where she saw Eric dressed up. When she asked where he was going, Eric said he had a date with Hilda, who had called him while she was asleep. As he was about to leave, Molly called him back and gave him a hug. Moments later, Eric arrived at Hilda's house. He freshened up quickly and joined her. They began dancing and having fun. Afterward, they sat down, and Eric advised her to invest her money in a contract business. They continued chatting. What do you think about Molly's controlling behavior? Was she protecting her marriage or pushing Eric away? Let us know in the comments. That night, Molly and Eric were in the living room when Molly told him it was time for the truth. She handed him a carbon paper with a script of what he should say to Hilda. Eric wasn't comfortable with it, but he agreed to do it to make Molly happy. He then called Hilda, pretending he was stranded in the middle of nowhere because his car broke down. He claimed he had tried transferring 200,000 naira to someone, but had been debited twice. Hilda was surprised and asked him what kind of car would cost 200,000 naira to fix. Eric made up another excuse, saying he had to get a mechanic from the island, and because he had to change the engine, the total cost was now 1 million naira. Hilda asked if he had an accident or if he was just stranded. The question made Eric uncomfortable, so he quickly told her not to worry anymore, making her feel guilty. She immediately told him to send his account details. Eric calmed down and thanked her. After the call, he received an alert of 2 million naira. He showed Molly the alert, and they both screamed and danced with excitement. The next day, Molly dressed up in a nice outfit, wearing a new wig and holding a brand new iPhone 13. She walked confidently into the office. Natty was stunned, especially by the iPhone, which she never expected. Molly praised her man, calling him different sweet names. Natty asked which man she was referring to, and Molly told her it was Eric who got her the phone and many other nice things. She also told her Eric now worked in an oil company. Natty was shocked and prayed for a man working in an oil company too. Molly playfully told her to pray for a husband richer than all her sugar daddies. Hours later, Molly was stepping out of the office when Owen drove in and offered her a ride. She got in, and they chatted along the way until she got off. The following day, Eric brought Hilda to show her some of his projects. Afterward, he drove home and surprised Molly by handing her a car key, saying the car now belonged to her. Molly was thrilled. That same day, Owen angrily approached Hilda with a file showing that someone else was working on the project. He was furious and demanded to know who the man was, but Hilda ignored him and stayed focused on her phone. This made Owen even angrier, and he stormed out. The next day, Molly and Eric were in the living room, eating and drinking. Molly brought up the idea of getting a better apartment since they were now financially stable. Eric felt it was too soon, but they both laughed it off. Later at Molly's office, while she was arranging her things, Natty walked in asking for advice. She also admitted Molly had really changed a lot. Molly advised her to find herself a husband, then told her to get to work and stop staring at her. Meanwhile, Eric and Hilda were having a nice time together, chatting. Hilda complimented how sweet he was and asked how he had been single all this while. Eric asked if she wanted to date him. She replied that she might, and then they kissed. The next morning, Hilda was about to go out when Owen came to talk to her about their relationship. After a long conversation, she walked out on him. Back at Hilda's house, she was seen giving Eric a massage. Afterward, they sat close, chatting and admiring each other. Eric then confessed that he loved her, and they kissed again. The next morning at the office, Natty was scrolling through her phone and smiling when she received a call from Hilda. To her shock, Hilda called off the wedding plans. Moments later, Molly joined her as she explained that she couldn't afford to lose such a big client. Molly, however, was calm and stared at her strangely. She stood up and said she would do something about it, surprising Natty. That night, Molly was asleep, but woke up to realize Eric hadn't come home and it was already late. The next morning, Molly was in the living room when she heard a knock and someone calling her name. Natty rushed in and told her she had called Owen to confirm the wedding, and he said it was still on. They chatted for a while, with Natty pleading for them to go to Hilda's house to apologize. Molly refused at first, but Natty got on her knees to beg her. Moments later, Molly and Natty arrived at Hilda's house. Just as Natty was getting angry and about to go inside, Owen drove in. Meanwhile, Eric was inside Hilda's house sleeping when Hilda woke him up, saying she had a surprise for him. They both went to the living room, and Eric was shocked to see she remembered his birthday. Outside, everyone chatted for a while before going inside, unaware that the unexpected was about to happen. Inside, they found Eric about to propose to Hilda. Owen couldn't believe his eyes. Eric was the reason Hilda had been acting strange. Natty also realized that Eric was behind Molly's recent luxurious lifestyle. A heated argument broke out, making Hilda furious. She told them to stop and threatened to call the police. At that moment, everyone's secrets spilled out right in front of her. What would you do if you were Hilda in this situation, caught between love, lies, and betrayal? Let us know in the comments below. A few weeks later, Owen, just like Molly, became very miserable. The same happened to Natty. However, Eric had fallen in love with Hilda, which made him pack his things and leave Molly alone. Days passed, and we saw Eric at an expensive restaurant writing a love letter to Hilda. Meanwhile, Hilda, who was jogging back home, saw the letter at the gate. She read through it as she walked inside. Months later, Hilda dressed up, looking stunning as she walked gracefully into the expensive restaurant and ordered a drink. While she was drinking, she noticed a ring inside the glass. She quickly called the waiter to report what was in the drink. But instead, the waiter told her that his boss had asked him to put it there. Surprised, Hilda asked, "Your boss?" Suddenly, Eric appeared, also looking very handsome. They sat down, chatted, and admitted how much they missed each other. She was still shocked to hear that he owned the restaurant. Wow. Guys, what do you think about the two of them? Well, for me, this really feels like a new beginning of love for Eric, with Hilda by his side. Then they embraced and kissed each other. The moral lesson of this movie is, lies and manipulation may bring short-term rewards, but true love, honesty, and patience will always stand the test of time. And that's it, guys. Thank you for joining us in this very exciting episode. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification bell for more interesting and fascinating episodes like this. Till we meet again, goodbye.